you need to move and think about how do we make this more democratic. When we talk at outcomes, so access and equity is something Telangana has done exceedingly well in the last 10 years. When it comes to outcomes, you have huge challenges. When you look at the ACER surveys or ACER reports, or even the PGI surveys, the number of students in grades 3, 5, 8 who could read in Telugu, who could read sentences in English, or who could do basic mathematical problems is actually very, very low, lower than the national average. Right? You have issues in terms of so there is something called as PGI for schools, Performance Grading Indicators, by the Government of India, which looks at district level education benefits across school education. 19 districts, there have been 2 rounds of it. In the last round, 19 districts in Telangana actually went down from their ranking from the previous stage. So probably these are areas that the state would have to probably look at. Another big challenge is in terms of the budget to education. The budget to education is actually among the lowest for the state of Telangana as a part of the state budget. And in terms of this budget to the state budget, it's actually going down as well. Now the government should not be the supporter of education of last resort, but at the same time the budget would help. What also makes things difficult, everyone on the task spoke about the capability and capacity building of teachers. The Telangana Teacher Education Institutes for School Education, which are the SCRT, DIETs and the BIETs, have almost a 40% vacancy of teachers. In fact, SCRTs, which is a decision-making body in some sorts, it had a 57% vacancy of teachers, which does not bode well. Right? And as a result, if you compare, there's some graphs, and in fact, there's a lot of data in the report that will get published across this. This is just the PGI indicators, which are across 5 dimensions. If you see, Telangana actually scores, while slightly better than the national average, it is way behind the other South Indian states. And we're not trying to compare Telangana to one of the laggard states when it comes to education. We're talking about peers, and as Telangana, we're not doing too well here. So what do we do to improve this? In our view, there are challenges around access and equity. Like we said, there are subject teacher issues. A lot of schools do not have subject teachers. There's a sudden drop at the senior secondary level. In fact, much more pronounced than national averages again. So there is something going wrong at the level of grade 10, and a lot of students are dropping out. Can we look at more vocational education in the middle school and the secondary school to make sure that these people, when they're dropping out of school, they have some vocation to go back to and they're learning better? The children with special needs is a weak point in Telangana. Again, there has been very limited identification and even working on it. The important part is around the teacher development and outcomes. I believe the teachers need to be trained about new ways of teaching. Today, with Diksha coming in, with a lot of online education coming in, remedial learning is much more readily available. But the teachers need to be trained about those techniques. The teachers need to be trained about identifying students who require such things. And we need a social outreach to let parents know there's nothing wrong in your student and your kid being bad in mathematics. You just need to make more effort rather than this being a social stigma. So a lot of social outreach would need to be done. It is important to have some sort of a counseling system, and again, this is something which could be done through the government in partnership with the private sector. And you could offer personalized paths to the students. I think the important part for the state government is around governance. Can we create and hire teacher transfers, the teacher hiring becoming more quicker, more agile, and more transparent, so that the PTR could be improved across the board. And can we look at alternate financing sources? This is important. One of the data points is the entire state budget of Telangana, if that is X, the CSR requirement of companies only in Hyderabad, we're not even talking about Telangana, only the companies in Hyderabad, the CSR budget requirement is 80% of the state education budget. Can we look at tying in, getting some of that money in an institutional manner to improve the status of the education system. Coming to the higher education. Sorry. From higher education perspective, again, we are way ahead of the national norms. Dr. Limbadri spoke about the fact that the women enrollment is the highest in the country. The equity is great. One of the issues, and Dr. Limbadri also spoke about it, this ample capacity in colleges, especially in professional education. There are just too many engineering colleges, and probably 1 out of 3 seats in those professional colleges is lying vacant as of now. To make matters worse, in terms of outcome, it's only 2 out of 3 seats which are being filled up. Only 1 out of those 3 students is actually able to complete the program. So there's a lot of dropout. There's probably a lack of counseling for students to really look at. Probably students are being pushed by the parents into professional courses. It could be in terms of the quality of teachers. It could be in terms of the interest that the teachers could generate.